Welcome to the Body Love Revolution podcast. I'm your host, Emma Walkinshaw. As a transformational coach, I'm deeply passionate about helping people embrace self-love and acceptance. I'm also the founder of the Body Love Revolution program and the creator of 21 Minutes of Morning Magic. You'll also find me leading yoga sessions and running retreats both here in Australia and internationally. On this podcast, I bring you some pretty incredible guests to discuss a range of topics, from self-belief to body acceptance, personal development, outdated beauty standards, and calling out the toxic diet culture. Together, we explore ways to embrace the beauty of the bodies we were born into, let go of limiting beliefs, and elevate our self-awareness. Occasionally, I'll share a solo episode, and you'll have some little life according to Emma moments. I am thrilled that you have joined us on this journey, and I hope you enjoy every moment of it. Welcome, let's dive in. I am joined today by Justene, who is actually a dear friend, and we've known each other for many, many years. And Justene has been always a shining light for me around health. Justene has a myriad of letters behind her name. She is a yoga teacher, a nutritionist. She is also, though, an Ayurvedic lifestyle coach, formula and founder of Ibu, which is an amazing Ayurvedic company. And in that, it really is around self-care and rituals for women who mother. So in this show notes will be her beautiful Instagram and website, and please check it out. Your products are divine. I love them, and welcome.
Thank you. Thank you, Emma. I've been looking forward to chatting.
Me too. You're always just such a wealth of knowledge, and particularly in this space of body love, body acceptance, particularly being a mother, the stages of life, also your Ayurvedic background, your naturopath background, your yoga teacher background. You have worked with women for years, and particularly in your company, the products that you have created and the products you have created to support women are just beautiful. So I do want to jump straight in, and I want to ask you, accepting and celebrating our true nature through the practices of Ayurveda. And I'd like you even to explain what the Ayurvedic practice is. If you could give us a quick little synopsis of that, and then how the practices help with our body love journey.
Okay, sure. So I'll just introduce what Ayurveda is if you want.
Thanks.
So it's obviously an ancient Indian medical system, one of the oldest medical systems that is in existence, if not the oldest. It's 5,000 years old. And the basis of Ayurveda is that it's a lifestyle medicine. It isn't a one-size-fits-all medicine. It's a medicine that is designed to correct imbalances, and knowing that everybody comes into this planet with a different makeup. So there's no one, size-fits-all remedy for people. It's really about understanding your constitution. That's a core principle, meaning who you are, what you're made up of, and especially as when your parents conceive you, who they are. It goes back down the lineage of to find out who you are. A practitioner will generally help you find your constitution, or you can do these quizzes. But your lifestyle medicine and this practice of self-care and self-love and regulation starts by knowing, first of all, who you are. And then second of all, implementing lifestyle practices, which of course include how you take care of your body, how you move your body, how you nourish your body. But they are going to be different to your friend next door. And then that is where an element of acceptance comes in, because we're not all made the same way. We can't expect ourselves to come into this world looking identical, nor would we want to. And so that's the big thing, speaking to this topic, is that Ayurveda is about acceptance first, and then introducing lifestyle practices that you it's not going to be something that you change in 30 days and then you're done with it. You're going to implement that for the rest of your life so that you have balance or homeostasis, sort of for the rest of your life. So it's sustainable wellness.
Can you give me an example of like what one of the practices would be? Like if you think about your own Ayurvedic imprint and how you practice that, and being a mum who runs a beautiful business and you're a wife and all of the things. So how would that play out in a day?
So in Ayurveda, the most important concept is called your dinacharya, and that's your daily routine. So that means how, exactly like this, how your day plays out so that you have enough sustenance to continue on. And that might be, so for me, for example, one of my practices is my morning routine. Although probably to look at me, I look quite a typically Pitta person, blue eyes and a skin that tends to go a bit red, fair, and I'm of muscular build. But I also have a lot of vata in me. That's what makes me kind of irregularly short and some other tendencies and get dry. But I also now take into account that I live in the desert. So it's a very, very dry climate. So my daily practices are all about nourishing and lubricating in the early morning. So in the early morning, that means that I'm going to do a little bit dry body brushing. I'm going to put on warm oils. I'm going to always, I never miss a beat, having a really hot, steamy shower. Even I have to get that moisture into me and start the day. And I have to have that time. Like my morning ritual is very extensive. Like I need that time before the kids are up. I need that time to have put into myself. So this is there is a sequence of events. You do your body oiling, you do your nasal irrigation. So your neti pot, you're washing your nose, your tongue scraping, checking your tongue, making, that's how you sort of keep a track of your digestive health. Elimination is really important, trying to go to the bathroom when you first wake up, not holding on to anything, fully cleansing out the body, cleansing out everything before you put anything back in, before you have to process and digest anything. So that is, in a sense, you have a daily routine. And then what time you eat, what you eat, in a sense. I have no rigidity about it. It's not like that in Ayurveda. It's just, I don't eat till I feel hungry. That's the big thing. It's like I've cleansed out the body. I've done all of my wellness practices. Naturally, if I'm well, the hunger will be there. It will start to build up. And that's the time that I eat. I don't think, oh, it's 7 o'clock, or oh, it's 8 o'clock, or oh, I've got to eat this time. It's like there's a certain element of flow and acceptance and surrender that comes in.
Such a harmonious practice. And I know that because we've spoken about this over the years and the way that you do live your life, even I remember you sharing with me about the warm and the cool foods and how that can fit with your flow and the harmony of your body. So it's not because, of course, toxic diet culture, you and I both know, have done a number on so many people, but Ayurvedic is a way of life. And it leans, to me, what I'm learning about intuitive eating, it leans to that. Like you say, then the building of the hunger and knowing the signals of your body, and then the food that you choose, it feels like it leans quite a bit into that. What do you think?
Definitely, 100%. Actually, as someone who studied as a naturopath when I was 23, it took a long time to finish it, doing nutrition and naturopathy, but was very much in that culture of the latest fad and the diets, which is unfortunately a big part of Ayurveda. I mean, of being a naturopath, you kind of got to know the trends. I had wanted to study Ayurveda, but it wasn't mainstream enough. It wasn't really available. You had to travel to do it. And naturopathy seemed like the thing for me. But it fed obsessive behaviors in myself, actually. And I would say I had orthorexia. I had compulsion to live a restricted way of life. I don't know if you remember, but I was like dairy-free, gluten-free, everything free, basically, and yet I was still always in discomfort. I was always bloated. I wouldn't say it was my ideal weight. I wasn't. I had fluid retention because I was restricting so much. There was toxicity. And I naturopathy didn't work for me. Years of trying herbs, spending a fortune, doing everything, putting the principles into practice on myself, but still not feeling fully well because I was restricting myself. I was the kind of person who goes to a Thai restaurant and doesn't eat the rice or the noodles, just eats the spicy curry. So I was very restricted in every aspect of my life. And I would say that even though I was doing the yoga teacher training course, and that was bringing some shifts in my consciousness, but I wasn't fully able to digest it. And I think a really important part of any body love regime or self-love regime or any healthy eating regime is to first correct what is that restriction, where is that coming from. And I think I met my husband at the time, and just through being in that loving, supportive relationship, I started to let go a little bit. And he was like, what the heck do you mean you don't eat rice? My husband is Asian, rice is life. He was like, something's very wrong with you, and we're going to correct this kind of thing. And I started to just enjoy my life. This guy loves me so much. What the hell, man? What's going to happen if I just live my life and eat what I want to eat with him? And, you know, of course, I became slimmer than ever, healthier than ever, but I still had some digestive problems. And that's when I worked with an Ayurvedic practitioner, and completely blew me away, because it was like everything you think you shouldn't eat and everything, all these restrictions, that all went out the window, and eating in accordance to having warm food and things you could digest, and a lot of beautiful spices and a lot of ghee, and also, like I discussed earlier, not eating if there's no health inside your gut, and really not trying to take a spirulina to fix it or a herb or this thing, everything, like actually listening to the body. So all of my previous digestive problems, my menstrual problems, a whole lot of anxiety issues that I had really eradicated. And of course, then I was like, oh my God, this is it. It takes years. You've got to come back to the knowledge. You've got to come back to wisdom, because we can be like, oh, this is so spicy, I love it, and then eat it on repeat. And then all of a sudden your stomach's out because you've put too much fire in your body, and your body's already fiery. So you do have to come back to your wisdom. But once you make that shift of self-acceptance, the body feels it and it surrenders to that. You know, there is an innate wisdom when we are living in harmony with our own constitution and not expecting it to be something that it's not. And as someone who grew up in, you know, I'm born in 85, so I was really peaking in my, you know, teenagehood in diet culture, extreme diet culture. Like this was the tail end of the 90s when you had, you know, all those top supermodels, and Kate Moss, who was anorexic. These were our role models. Really, people who were truly anorexic was what we were expected to be like. And I just think my lucky stars that my kids are never going to live in that world. They're growing up at a time when it's not, you know, do the quiz in the Cosmopolitan magazine or the Clio magazine and how you're going to get this thin and what tricks you get, you know, all of this culture. You don't realize it's building up inside of you, and it's a measure of your worth. And another big thing was, because for me, I moved out of Australia and I lived in an Asian society. I just felt liberated. I felt like I don't have to keep up with everybody back home. When you're back home, especially on the Gold Coast, you've got to look a certain way to be on the beach. You've got to look a certain way just to exist at the gym. It feels like we'll take a breath. Yeah, so going and living in Asia, and then, like I said, ironically, being the slimmest I had been in my 20s and 30s, because I was just living my life, not worried about how I was being seen through the lens of others, and also living and eating foods I wanted to. So when you eat what you want to, the body's not saying, oh, I still want this, or I still want this. And yes, cool and warm comes into a play, but it's how your body feels after you eat. If it's a really hot day and you're sitting out there sweating, of course a salad's going to be good, but that's probably the only time a salad's going to be good. You shouldn't be eating salad. It's cold, it's dry, it's hard to digest. And again, it's going to make you bloated, and it's good because it's hard to digest. You're going to have stagnation. You might get food retention. You might get edema. A salad is not the answer. Having a nice hearty meal with a little bit of protein, some yummy spiced vegetables, some rice, all of the tastes that we need to taste get met, and you're satiated, which means you're not going to go rummaging. After a salad, we often go rummaging, right, for something else, because you didn't meet the need that the body is asking for. So, pardon me, the whole thing is about listening. And every time, also, I was very fortunate that throughout my studies of Ayurveda and so forth, that I was seeing an Ayurvedic practitioner, and he is somebody from India. It was different as well. The culture is different to seeing my Ayurvedic practitioner in Australia. He would be like, you did what? I'm like, I know it's so healthy to eat coconut. So I ate all this raw coconut straight from the shell, and now I have a stomach ache. He's like, I just don't understand. Just because somebody said,
coconut's good.
It's healthy. Yeah. And I was like, but my stomach's really paining. He's like, again, I don't understand why you did this. And then it was him looking at myself through the lens of his confusion as to my erratic behavior coming from this diet culture history where it was like, I've got to do this, I've got to do this. And then I was like, yeah. And now I can reflect that wisdom back to my husband, who sometimes is like, I've just watched a YouTube and I've got to eat this thing to, be super strong. I'm like, or do you? Like, you just watched Kevin do a YouTube out of his gym in his backyard, and he told you to do that. Like, come on, listen to your own body. He's like, I've got to cut the carbs. I'm like, you were the one who told me to eat carbs. Don't you dare cut carbs.
Yeah. This is the thing, this is the thing. We give our power away, exactly like you said, to these absurd cosmopolitan or a YouTuber or the next fad thing. When we have the innate wisdom, we do actually know. But I think that Ayurvedic practice definitely helps you get in tune with your...
It does. And
dosha.
Actually, it was doing an Ayurvedic detox at first. And when I mean a detox, I don't mean, extreme colonics or anything. No, it was just pulling away all these other things. They might be very expensive, the kind of food I was living off. All my money was going at what was that place we used to meet at, that organic, restaurant?
Yes, place.
Everything goes there. Yeah. But all these things were unnecessary. My organic, kefir sprouted by mushrooms on a full moon in Scotland. This kind of like random things, this thing, that thing, so elaborate my diet was. When I stripped that all back and just to the basics of, you start with this, you would have heard khichdi, which is just like a rice and lentil kind of porridge with vegetables and some ghee and spices. And then just being like gradually reintroducing things and being like, oh my God, did I really need all of this? And is it always necessary? Yeah. And I also think this ties into this kind of hedonistic, consumeristic society that we live in. They want us to believe we need this, sprouted spirulina from somewhere. They want us to believe we need it all.
Yeah.
But the truth is, we don't need it all. We do need herbs when we're unwell. Of course it's important. But a lot of the things nowadays, even my kids are sick, I can get it from the kitchen. I can make something with turmeric. They've got a stomach ache, I take fennel seeds. They're coming, starting to feel a bit unwell. I boil ginger and coriander. If you need to step up to the next level of herbal extracts, I will. But you can address things easily with very low cost, simple items that are within your house, and old fashioned wisdom, to be honest, not going out, it's cold, not drinking ice drinks when you're getting a cough. This is when the temperature thing comes into play, keeping your feet warm, not getting your hair wet when you've got a cold coming on. These are really basic Ayurvedic principles, which you start to understand and you live and you put into practice. And it's like, now, because for years I suffered from sinus problems, and it was as simple as, it's extremely cold outside, keep your head covered, keep your extremities warm, do not drink cold water, only drink warm water, so that all the passages in the body these are really important in Ayurveda, so that they can detoxify, so that they don't get congested. So when there's a lot of cold, things stagnate, things build up. So temperature plays a big part, but it's really you can't just say, I'm never going to eat this again. No, because it's changing. Really big thing in Ayurveda is the seasons. Every single season has a different dinacharya, a different practice we have to put into play. How late we stay up at night. In summer we stay up a lot later because we have a lot of solar energy. There's a lot of sun. There's a lot of warmth. We've got more energy in our bodies, and it's okay to stay up late. But in winter, when it's cold and you need to sort of recover a lot more and process a lot more, and it's a time when people tend to hibernate, it's not as good to stay up late. You need to have more recovery time to prevent getting run down. So all of these things, they also play a very big part, actually. And if I move my hands anymore, I'll be dancing.
I loved it. It was the interpretive dance.
Yeah, I know, it's my gift.
It's your gift. But I love to hear this because it is a holistic practice. It is not a diet. It's actually ancient wisdom, like you said. That is a
Absolutely.
practice in your life. And you're absolutely right, Justine. Like the wellness culture has, we walk into a health food store, the amount of things, exactly like you say, these extreme expensive things that we are told that we should be taking, and if you don't, and this and that. And it is from perhaps an ad on YouTube, or it's a poster in the health food store. We are sold a lie. We really are.
Yes,
When we can
yes.
stick to this ancient wisdom of a practice like Ayurvedic philosophy, we're setting ourselves up for a sustainable, well life.
It's about sustainable. It, like anything in life, we want sustainable health, sustainable wealth, sustainable living. I remember doing this. It's as clear as day that I was like, I came home from a lecture and I was like, chromium, it controls blood sugar. I need it immediately. I need, gymnema. I need all these steps. I would go out and spend my, measly money. I was getting my student allowance and then working on the counter with you, and it would, like, all my money would go on these supplements. And then, like, my food money was barely there. I was eating oats, whatever. I was sure these were going to be the things that were going to solve my problems. And I put all of my energy and financial resource and everything into this solution. And then really a very mild change would happen, because I'm not, and by the way, I don't want to be negative about, about naturopaths or anything. Obviously, all that philosophy is still in me, and the wisdom and the intelligence and the body systems, it's there and it's important. But I am not the person that believes that the supplement is the solution, because ultimately we have to be the solution. We have to first understand ourselves, address it. I think really functional medicine is knowing that the most important aspect, the primary aspect, is our relationships with ourselves and with others. When these are in harmony and you're still not getting results, then you come for a supplement. Because yes, our soil globally is depleted. Yep, we all know it. The food doesn't have as many nutrients. But we can only digest what our body's allowing us. So in those days, I used to take supplements. I used to take everything. I was eating organic, and I wasn't digesting, because I wasn't digesting life.
Yes.
When in Ayurveda, the principle is such that the most important thing is your digestive fire, Agni. And this is, without it, you don't have life, in a sense. It's everything. You have to have the capacity to not only, it's all good to eat something, but if you're not digesting it and you're not taking the minerals from it and you're not taking the vitamins from it, you really need to address that. But it's the same with mental health in Ayurveda. So there's a whole subsection of Ayurvedic medicine for mental health. We need to digest the experiences that we have. That's why in Ayurveda they don't recommend that pregnant women sit and watch gory films and horror films, because you have to take that sensory input into your brain, process it and digest it, and you're already trying to grow a baby who's getting an opinion of what the world is and how safe it is and how much cortisol we need and so forth. So it's also really important that we don't just think about what we're digesting in through the mouth, but what we're digesting from our ears, from our eyes, from our environment. It's another really important thing. Our environment matters. That's why basic things like keeping your house lovely and clean and pure and a place of beauty for you, having your relationships in check, having your body regime in check. These, as my business is, it's about taking care of your skin. It's about taking care of your body. It's about taking care of your nervous system with teas and things like this. This is just so that we're overall we're overall addressing imbalances so that we can handle life. Life is not all golden and peaches, but we want to be able to do the best that we can. If we have these things in order, your capacity to digest food, your capacity to maintain your ideal weight, whatever that may be, and by the way, I'll speak to that because that is different for each of the constitutions, is going to be way greater than if you don't have the relationships in check. with yourself, with others. You have a toxic workplace, you have a toxic home environment. How can you imagine that a supplement's going to fix it? It's not. Maybe you'll get placebo effect for a couple of weeks. We're like, oh, it's the, coenzyme Q10. Oh, for a little while.
Yeah.
But, and that's not to say herbs are your ally as well. So when you are under stress, obviously Ayurveda is famous for it, using herbs to support your mental function, to support your digestive health as you transition to wholeness, to wellness, to homeostasis.
Yeah.
They are your ally and your friend, but they can't be everything. We have to come back to our center.
Yeah, it is the holistic approach. And that takes a bit of bravery and courage to be able to look at things with truth. What am I digesting? What am I not digesting? Any trauma that I need to heal, because that affects who we are and how we move through the world and our opinion of ourselves.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it's like you said, it's not easy and it's not for the faint-hearted, and it should be done. Supported. Everything in life. No modality, not naturopathy, not Ayurveda. Nobody expects you to do this alone. But in most Western societies, they're individualistic societies. We have a tendency to believe we have to do this alone. We have to unpack this or do this. And it's not about that. It's about in community with others. We can work through our relationships. In community with support people, we can address these things. And it's that, pardon me, that old saying or proverb that it's like an onion. It's one layer at a time. It's easy to look at me now and go, oh yeah, it's good for her. She's balanced. She's got an Ayurvedic brand. No. That took me years. I'm 38 now. And when I first studied aromatherapy, I was 19. I was completely off the rails. By the time I was 21, I was doing naturopathy to try to find myself. And I became a yoga teacher. It took years and years and years. And then actually, as we can discuss, it was really motherhood and wanting to become a mother that made me be like, no, I'm not going to carry this forward. Yeah. I'm not going to carry this tendencies forward. I want to get on top of these things while I can, and so that I can be the best example of a mother for my kids. I was very interested in conscious conception and going to all these red tent ceremonies and, all this stuff. And I really did a lot of work prior to becoming a mum so that I could sort of be in my element and be a mum and give it my all. And probably a part of my obsessive compulsive kind of nature was I wanted the perfect child and the perfect healthiest body and be a perfect mum. You also have to surrender that by the time you've got 3 kids. The third one didn't get steamed organic broccoli. The third one got some rice off my plate, fed straight into the mouth. You go really you do surrender, but a lot of it is that you have to be willing or motivated to do the work and to gradually listen to yourself. That takes practice. And you're going to also expect that you're going to come back out of balance. You can ask my husband, I still come out of balance. There are times that I have to admit where I've been like, it hasn't been for a few years, for which I'm very grateful for, but I would be like, it's okay that I ate that, isn't it? It's okay that I ate that. Truthfully, that's the truth. And he'd be like, what the hell? Why are you even asking me? Eat what you want when you want. And I'd be like, I'm quite hungry. And it's already, and even this was the Ayurvedic principles were in my head.
Yeah.
I was like, it's 9 o'clock and I shouldn't eat after the sun's gone down, really. He's like, oh my God, go in the kitchen and eat something and relax. And you know how men are, they're like, do what you want, like live your best life kind of thing.
Yeah.
Because they haven't had the same pressures of us to be a Barbie doll,
Yeah.
So it was like him having that till eventually I was just like, the hell, I'm going to sit with my plate of biryani and watch Netflix at night, is the dog correct? So that self-acceptance and knowing that Ayurveda is not rigid. If you are feeling hungry and you don't have to earn your food, it's not like, oh, you don't deserve that. It's like, yeah, you might have a bit of not so good digestion in the morning because you ate late at night. So what I do if I've done that is I'm not hungry in the morning. I let it go. I wait till my hunger comes, because I stayed up late watching Netflix, eating on the couch. You know, you just got to take those rebalancing principles and put them into practice day after day until it comes together.
It really is a philosophy, isn't it? Which it isn't just one, like you say, it's not one size fits all. It is not just one thing, what you put in your mouth. It's a whole system that takes time to fine tune. Yeah.
Yes, it takes time to fine tune. That's why it works, because it's not a quick fix. It takes time to fine tune because you have to own that. And once, you know, I used to like literally cry if I couldn't see my Ayurvedic doctor. Like literally, I formed such a big attachment, and he almost had to like encourage me to, you know, to embody that wisdom myself, because I wanted somebody else to fix me or to be there for my everything. And you have to learn to do it alone, and to know that that is when you're truly well. You can come back into harmony. And you know, when you first become a naturopath or an Ayurvedic, you want to give everybody advice. People want to ask you advice. I am just so the opposite of that now. People want to talk to me about diet. It's a red flag to me, to be honest. I'm like, hang on, slow down. What, you know, how are you sleeping? What are you feeling like? What's going on in your life? And have you always not been able to digest this, or is this a new thing? Because it's usually very often in response to something in their environment that you have this, you know, shift or a rapid weight gain. And yes, hormones play a part. Yes, they do. Not even Ayurveda denies that. You know, hormones play a part, sleep plays a part, all these things. But if you are in tune with your body, you're going to be aware of that, and you're going to make the adjustments. And to speak to what I was saying about the ideal weight, there is no such thing in Ayurveda. Absolutely no such thing. What there is being healthy in your body. So the three main doshas are Vata, Pitta, and Kapha. Vata is a combination of space and ether. So you're going to imagine, so how it's understood from a sort of a physics or a chemistry perspective is that each of the constitutions has more of some of the elements in them. Your Vata types have more of this space element in them. They're going to be quite thin people, very light, very ethereal, tendency to a little bit of irregularity, dry skin, gas. They're the kind of people that are a bit flittery and flat, you know, they jump from topic to topic, place to place, harder to sort of contain them because there's a lot of space in their makeup. Then you have Pitta types, which are made up of fire and water. These people, fire and water means that they have a tendency, they can overheat, can be a bit steamy. It might be the types that perspire a lot. They're a bit fiery. They can burn out because they think they can do it all. So then they burn out and they get adrenal fatigue. They are your go-getters, your type A personalities. Then you have Kapha, and this is made up of earth and water. They're more solid, they're more reliable, they're known for being compassionate, consistent, calm, because the earth element gives them an anchoring to this earth, and the water element keeps them in contact with their emotions. So they're more prone to visible crying and expressions of emotions. To be honest, people might go, oh, I want to be like the Vata, I want to be the really thin one. The Vata has the lowest life expectancy because they don't have the nourishment to keep them anchored and to keep them earth and to keep all of, in Ayurveda, everything that matters that keeps us juicy. We need oils, we need lubrication, we need nourishment in our bodies. And never in the Asian society was having a bit of extra weight considered unattractive. It was considered a sign of wealth because you haven't had to, and luxury and beauty, because you haven't had to work so hard that you depleted yourself. So being depleted is not ideal in Ayurveda. As a Vata, you have to work extra hard to stay in balance, and you have to introduce a lot of fats and topical fats and internal fats to stay in balance. Your Pitta types need to be careful to keep cool and not overdo the fats because their livers tend to be a bit fiery, but they also need to stay nourished. Whereas your Kapha types, because there's a lot of earth and water, this is the type that maybe is having a more of a tendency to gain weight. Every constitution will gain weight if they're out of balance. because the Kapha constitution is the heavier boned constitution, the more naturally bigger constitution, and the slower constitution, the less likely to be up at 5 a.m. running marathons, they're the more kind of placid constitution, they will have more of a likelihood to gain weight. And being the earth and water, they tend to like the sweets, they tend to like the treats and so forth. This is all good, but it's not like you can just run with it. That's what Ayurveda says. With each of the constitutions, you can't just let it go wild. You can't let the Vata become a stick. You can't let Pittas burn out and get eczema and fiery and sweating. And you can't let Kapha go to the point where it's like ice cream and lying on the couch, kind of, it's about, okay, I have a lot of Kapha in my body. That means I shouldn't be bringing in too much of the earth and the cool element. I got to keep drinking the warm water. I got to have the ginger. I got to make sure I move every day, because Kapha's tendency is to relax, you got to make sure the movement is there. And the self-acceptance is there, so that it's a gradual process. It's like, again, it's not a quick fix thing, but until you bring your body into its balance. That doesn't mean you're going to lose 35 kilos or something. It means you're going to come back into your ideal balance. Your body has its own innate wisdom that it came into this earth with. It's only through conditioning from the media and from everything else that we believe everybody should look basically the same. And it's really absolutely incorrect. We all have to move. We all have to exercise, especially as we age. And as women, we have to take care of our bones. We have to do a bit of, weights. We have to move our body, because in the old days, we would have been moving our body, carrying washing and carrying things and so forth. Anyway, it's just consistent movement, consistently eating, consistently not overindulging, or on the other extreme, malnourishing yourself, because people who are spiraling like this. By the way, you can be any dosha and go in any direction. You can be Kapha, but have restricted yourself so much because of diet culture that you end up with Vata imbalances, and you restrict and you're malnourished. And then the malnourishment leads to cravings, which leads to binge eating, and it's a cycle. So the first step is to know yourself. And then the second step is to look at where I'm imbalanced. You might be Kapha, but have a Pitta imbalance. Really working out, how do I feel? What's going on? And the elements help make that easier by looking for symptoms on the body. Anything with inflammation is generally Pitta related. Anything with pain and dryness and restriction and constipation and so forth is Vata related. Anything with stagnation and phlegm and this feeling and weight gain and a lot of fluid retention is generally Kapha related. So it's like addressing the imbalance and then supporting your basic constitution.
It's such a interesting topic when you think through about yourself. And I understand what you mean. You can still be Kapha, technically the softer, the rounder, the gentler soul, but still have pulled yourself into a Vata state, because we've got that mindset that we need to be, diet culture, beauty standards, we've got to be here, and then that
Kaphas can burn themselves to harm. Exactly. And in the end of it is starvation. And imagine your cells are asking for things. Your whole body is asking to be accepted.
Yes, to be accepted.
And you're taking it so far out of harmony that you end up with an imbalance that is not even your own core constitution. You're just so far off track. That's when it is really good to work with a practitioner. It's not something you can generally solve by yourself, because you might need to hear your own thoughts mirrored back to you. You might need to be in that safe space of understanding that, and work with somebody who's going to help you with herbs and maybe initially some food suggestions, not a diet, but some suggestions.
And practices, like to practice a philosophy.
And practices.
I love
step-by-step practices.
Thank you for sharing that, because that makes a lot of sense. If people who are listening haven't understood what Ayurvedic is, that's the principle. And it's clear but complex. Like it's like
I want to say that it is clear, but it is complex. But that is like anything on life. You're going to first take the surface knowledge, and it's going to feel like, yep, I got it. I'm either a Pitta, a Kapha, or a Vata. This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to look up. I can adjust my lifestyle. And you know what? That is enough initially. That is the beginning. anything in life, we first want to become a psychologist. Yep, but get the psyches. You're going to scratch deeper. You're going to scratch deeper. You're always going to find it's as complex as you come through it, but it's worth it. That's when the wisdom comes through. And the embodiment, starts to happen only as you realize I'm always still learning, but maybe because I love learning, I am always still, reading different books and listening to different talks and being like, these aha moments where it's like I'm fine-tuning and things that I thought had to be a particular way. And it's like, no, like you said, it is complex. You do have to make allowances for the different seasons, for how you're feeling, for so forth. But it shouldn't overwhelm you. It should be like, I can start with this. I can start with knowing my constitution. I can start with making this adjustment. As simple as, if you're a kapha who has a tendency to sleep in and have a cold smoothie in the morning, stop it. Start to get up early, start to brush your body to really get that stimulation happening. Make sure you have a warm shower. Make sure you put some oils which help, stimulate the kapha. Have a warm glass of water. Have something warm and light to eat. We don't want to bring more cold. We don't want to bring more stagnation. We don't want to be sleeping and lying down and letting the kapha accumulate in our lungs and wake up with phlegm and so forth. It's like, that is where you start. You start with knowing your constitution, and you start by putting the principles into place. And then you assess, okay, do I need to go deeper? I'm someone who goes deeper, so it's fine. It does sound complex.
Yeah, but I understand that. And those little shifts just make a difference because you're practicing the philosophy. Yeah.
They make a shift, and they invite you. And they invite most people, because people who start to feel better want to go a little deeper. Like, none of my friendship circle are Ayurvedic practitioners or anything like that. But I know I don't force my wisdom onto them, but I give a small bit of information that's just enough to make a shift, so that when they're ready, they come and ask for another something, and then that gets laid on. If I go and tell somebody straight away, you shouldn't be drinking that coconut water with ice in it, and you shouldn't be doing this, and you should start this, that person's going to be like, back off.
Yes.
That's too much change. That's too much change. I don't feel safe with that much change. You can slowly, gradually introduce small, subtle changes. A person naturally, we all have a drive to be well. We all want to feel well. They're going to come back for more. They're going to want to adjust more. They're going to want to explore that a little bit more, what that means. They might want to take it to the next level and do a detox and start fresh,
Yeah.
Which often happens.
It's a wonderful, like you say, just those little tweaks can help. I do want to ask though, I know that you work a lot, and your brand Ibu Ayurvedic is based for women who are mothers and that wellness piece, and your products are gorgeous. But I do want to ask, the body changes and the stages we go through, the mother, the perimenopause, the menopause, and how this relates to, I guess, our body acceptance, our awareness. And you and I, we laugh. I'm that one step ahead of you. When you were in your early 20s, I was a mother, and now I'm, children leaving home, and you're in mother phase. And we've always laughed about this stage. And I'm menopausal now, and I've leaned on you just recently saying, tell me what you think about this from your naturopathic, nutrition, yoga, Ayurvedic stance. So tell me, Justine, or share with everyone your thoughts around, mother, even just the stages, our maiden, our mother, moving into our crone years or our matriarch years. Tell me about that and how you feel that relates to our body love or body acceptance journey.
Okay, so, and it definitely does. So for example, if you put it in the Ayurvedic umbrella, your sort of childhood right through to your mid-teens is considered the kapha time of life. We want our children to be juicy. We want them to be well-nourished. It's a time when kids have always got snotty noses and they get coughs, and it's the kapha time of life because we come into this world with a lot of earth energy. We've got to grow. We've got to reach our potential. It's this nourished kind of time. After that, we all enter the pitta cycle. And this is kind of like your, young adult. It's when you want to achieve, no matter what constitution you are, we all want to get ahead. We have all these goals. And this is generally when people are coming into their careers or motherhood, as you say. And the final stage of life, when it's not when you're menopausal, but it's probably postmenopausal, is what they call the vata time of life. It's when you're a little bit older, you start to, vata is a spiritual element. It's like, what matters to me? What's my purpose on this earth? Where is my place in society? And each of these phases requires different care, definitely. Coming at it from a woman angle, there is a whole, science devoted just to preparing women to conceive a child, and then another science to caring for them afterwards, because it's all very well to, see your favorite celebrity have a baby, get back on them the runway 4 weeks later or whatever, but it's like, no, this is very, very depleting. We have to be super well nourished. We have to really be in a state of ideally, accepting ourselves, healthy and well, in order to create a child that's going to come in with it, as most harmoniously as we can possibly want. But then after you give birth, and this is why my business formed, was because as I was giving birth, some of my friends back home were giving birth, and I was like, oh my God, these girls are expected to go to Woolworths like a week after they give birth and they've had a C-section or something. Like, I'm married into an Asian family. The expectation for pregnancy, even my husband was like, you got to work with an Ayurvedic practitioner throughout your pregnancy, do these oil baths so the child is very nourished. It's built into their multi-generational wisdom that we have to support the mother so that the mother can do her best job. And I was just like living like a queen, literally, like, so pampered, so nourished, off my oil baths at the Ayurvedic clinic, every week when I was pregnant. Postpartum, a lady came to the house. She was doing, yoni steaming to make sure this was all warm again, belly binding, massage, special foods, so much attention. I felt like super pampered, completely kind of reverse of Western culture at the time, which was like the baby shower and the gifts for the baby when they're born, like a box of diapers or something. And it was this really different mentality of staying home. Now it's popular, the 40 days lie-in, but for me, back then, my child is 10, it wasn't popular in Western culture. No. But my husband was like, oh, look, you've got to stay home for 40 days. He doesn't even know why he's saying it, but his mum, it's just within the family, they all do it. They don't even know anymore why, the full science of it, but the wisdom is there, which is that the mom gets time to rest. The baby's immune system is still weak. There's this time of the family, just their nervous systems all dropping into each other and being in recovery mode. Like, really, in Ayurveda, they say 40 days for 40 years. 40 days of your life so that the next 40 years of your life are not depleted. That's how important it is. It's just so important to stay warm. It's so important for people to care for you, because this is just the beginning. People often, new mums now, I almost laugh, oh, the birth, yeah, it's a thing, but wait for the rest of your life.
Yeah, that's one marathon, sister. That's one sprint, sister. Get ready for the marathon.
Get ready for exactly. That's a sprint. That's like a 100-meter sprint at Sports Day in 1997. That's nothing.
Yeah, you wait for the marathon that never ends.
It never ends. Or even when they come out of their newborn stage at like, few weeks old, and all of a sudden they start crying all the time, and you're like, they're not sleeping as much. It is they say support the mum. And I can't even tell you how much ghee and milk and nourishing foods and just soups and so many beautiful things that I had, so that I had enough milk, so that I had enough calmness and support in me, so that I didn't get postpartum depression or postpartum anxiety, because it's an epidemic of people going through this, feeling suicidal after you give birth. It's about support. And because I saw this wasn't happening on a great scale back home in Australia, I was in Malaysia, that I felt like, oh my God, I want to offer this in whatever form I can to people back home. That stage, postpartum doulas was not even barely a thing. It was an emerging scene. But I wanted to create a brand where people could have their support people implement those practices, these herbal teas, these oils on the body, the belly binds. That's why I sell the belly binds. Spray for the fan, all these things that were not that were
And
not
those,
commonplace.
yeah,
you
and the
know.
belly binds are gorgeous because after you give birth, your back, your hips, everything's out. And for anyone who's listening, definitely go and have a look at Ibu Ayurvedic Justine's site, because they're a great gift. A great
Actually,
gift.
they're a super duper gift, because your back goes up not only from birth but from breastfeeding, and so this
Yeah.
helps stabilize your organs. It helps stabilize your spine. It does help your uterus contract back to its normal, it's like it's never going to be its pre-birth
Yeah.
size. It never goes back fully, but it just helps everything come back into place. And that was a really big thing for me as well, like accepting the body. Like Ayurveda doesn't expect you to be anything other than what you are after you give birth, but they do have these support practices in place so that I felt so special every day. Somebody putting the oil, my husband helping me tie the bengkung, every day I felt like so supported. And from an Ayurvedic perspective, your stomach and that whole area, and whenever you have anything open up like that, you're inviting a lot of wind in and a lot of air and a lot of vata, which is why you get a lot of constipation, anxiety, dry skin, restlessness. So that's why they always say keep that closed, keep it warm, keep it covered, keep it secure. And we know that from even the New Age world. This is our solar plexus chakra.
Yeah.
It's very important to keep it safe and secure, so that we can take care of ourselves enough in order to take care of our children. Now, as your children age and you step into new stages of parenting, your self-care practice has to also adjust.
Yeah.
That might mean you might even not, as they get older and they have more demands, you don't have as much time as you once had to do everything that you want to. So it's like, okay, streamline. Don't just say, oh, I don't have enough time, so I'm not going to bother with this. You know what? Even a thin layer of oil and a quick shower and something for yourself, a few minutes of pranayama is going to be better than saying, I didn't have 45 minutes of time, so I'll just get straight into parenting.
Yeah.
You're going to have that slump. You're going to be quick to anger with your kids when you haven't put enough into your tank. So that self-care thing is like always prioritize it. Have the discipline to make it important. And food-wise, especially in the mothering years, it's really about replenishment. Foods that are going to replenish you, because a lot of your life force is going out. You're still having your period. You might be breastfeeding. Everything is happening, and a lot of stuff is going out. You're giving of yourself. So this is when people often will take adaptogenic herbs. You will have things. Your oils will have adaptogenic herbs, a lot of things which help rebuild the body and help you cope with the daily stresses of life.
Yeah.
As opposed to the self-care regime when you're single and when you may be looking to conceive, there's going to be a lot of cleansing involved. You're going to be wanting to strip out anything which isn't needed before you conceive. Motherhood is like you need all the support to get through that marathon.
Yeah.
As you step into perimenopausal and the menopausal time of life, you do have to adjust how you consume your food. Is it still working? Because your hormones have changed, your metabolic rate changes, everything changes. And as you go through that transitional period, you're going to have to take a daily account. And again, really work with herbs which support you, herbs which nourish your hormones, herbs which help you stay juicy and nourished as you transition, as your body gets accustomed to a reduced amount of estrogen. It's absolutely necessary, again, to look at what your exercise regime is. Now your kids are bigger. You're going to have more time to really sort of cater to what you need to do in order to keep your bone healthy, your muscles healthy, your movement there. And this is your time, generally, after giving so much to your children, to give to yourself and to give to the world. What gift is going to come out, and how can you be supported to give that gift out? As you age again and you hit that more vata time of life, this is the time we need all of the nourishment, all of the extra sort of nourishing and lubricating and warming foods. That's why, we don't want to end up with forgetfulness or tendency to arthritis, a tendency to broken bones and so forth. Keep the oils in the body, keep the nourishment in the body, keep the lifestyle practices, but you might want to soften up at this time. You know, the discipline and the rigidity you had in your pitta time of life or your motherhood, it's no longer there, nor does it need to be there. You might need more sleep, more care, more nourishment, more things that fill you up, that bring you joy. That's why ideally it's a time of life where you can enjoy life, and start to what is it that fulfills me? What is it that brings me this really big nourishment? Because it's a totally different time of life.
Yeah, I did hear an interesting thing the other day. Yogi Louis shared with me, but I'll say it again. I don't know if she said it, but she was saying, your maiden time in your early, which is obviously your kapha time. Is it? Would you say maiden's kapha, or is that more, or your
Yes,
pitta when you're maiden?
yes,
Yeah, kapha. And she was saying that's when you're carefree. Then you move to mother, and that's responsibility. Then you move
yes.
to where I'm, perimenopause, menopause, which is, she says, that is carefree responsibility. And then when you move to your wisdom years, you're responsibly carefree. Oh, hang on. It's the other way around. Yeah. Like, so hang on. Did I get that right? Carefree, responsible. Then you're responsibly carefree. Then you're carefree and responsible. Yeah, if I said that the right way. Yeah, which is just that beautiful way to look at
but
things.
I get that it is. It's that is your time of life where you're not tethered down by all of these obligations.
Yeah.
But it's a time of life where it should be, you're getting to experience all the beauty and everything that you put out into the world. This is your wisdom years. This is the time that you get to kind of reap what you sowed throughout your life. That's actually why, because when we were first talking prior to this, you and I, about menopause, what's really important as you enter that stage is that you don't just, now I'm menopause, I'm going to start being healthy. Luckily for you, I've known you for a long time. We live healthy in all the stages, or ideally whenever you can start to catch yourself. Say you're in your late 30s and you're thinking, man, I've been off track for a long time. Get healthy now, because the healthier you are, the smoother the transition is going to be for you. The easier it's going to be, because if you try to dramatically make adjustments, then the body's going to be like, hang on, but I've always done this, and it's still trying to accommodate the fact that it doesn't have this big dose of estrogen anymore. It's still trying to find its new center of balance. So it's really important that you have the practices ideally in place, these self-care practices in place. And menopause is quite a pittery time, so hold off on the heaty food, hold off on the spicy food, still stay nourished, but listen to how your body is responding and make those subtle adjustments again.
And that's the thing, it's such a fine tuning, and it's so worth spending time on yourself, this self exploration, because again, like we've said, this has been, my problem is a lot of this outsourcing and wanting someone to fix me, whether it be the next diet. But this really, the Ayurvedic practice is a lifestyle and a long term. And I love the fact too that Ayurvedic, just the energy that comes with it is not skinny at all cost. It's not that you have to be a certain weight. It's about health. And it's about, I love when you talked about that, digesting life, digesting emotions, being in flow. I think of all the ridiculous diets I've done over the years. It's really just been such a pushing up against. There's been no flow and no ease and no harmony in it. It's
quite sad, isn't it, when you're on a diet? It's like you're punishing yourself. It's like, I failed.
Yep.
There's always a grief around it. And I think you'll find also when you do come to an Ayurvedic practice of self-acceptance, or any body love self-acceptance, that there's the secondary grief, because you realize, oh my God, why did I not love myself? And then you look at your children, if you're a mother, and you think, I never want that, especially your daughters and your son, to go a day in their life where they don't feel that this shell that they came into the world with is anything other than perfect for them. And if anybody doesn't accept them, I'll come and, you get really passionate about it, because I mean, hindsight is everything, but we don't want to feel like we did something wrong, so we're going to restrict ourselves. Imagine what the body does then. The body is innately intelligent. It's going to come up against that. And it has to self-preserve. And when a body is self-preserving, it's packing on weight and muscle, because we got to be strong. There's something wrong. So
Yeah.
we often, oh, I want to lose weight. And what do? We get bulkier, or
Yes.
it's bizarre, but it's
Yeah.
a, they found that babies inside of tummies who moms who experienced a lot of stress, relationship stress, abuse, whatever, the cortisol in the mother's body comes into the baby's body, and it can go one of two ways. But what they found generally is that a really lot of cortisol, one of the responses for the babies is to become very big and very bulky, because they are getting told the message that the world outside isn't safe and you got to bulk up because you got to survive,
Yeah.
So, for example, I'm a small made person, but my mum was under a lot of stress when she was pregnant with me, and I was 9 pound 13. I was an enormous baby, because it was like when I heard this, I looked back because it never made sense. Why was I so bloody big? Mum couldn't even put me in newborn clothes. They had to put me in big girl clothes when I was born, kind of thing. I was enormous because mum was going through a really stressful stage, and I adjusted according to the environment that I was in. And this is just my theory, please, anybody can totally disagree with me, but I also feel how the baby is brought into the world, how I noticed with each one of my deliveries, the energetic of that child and what's been going on affects how they're born. My mum had a really hard time giving birth to me, and I always imagined, because I was like, I don't want to come out. I'm living my best life in here.
Yes.
It's not easy to get out there.
It's not safe. Yeah.
Yeah,
It is.
so
All of that has definitely, and like we say, people who are listening can agree or not agree, but
yes,
we are complex and we are chemistry. And why is it that when we do want to restrict, the very opposite thing happens? Because we need to feel safe. We need to feel secure. That's how our body
ultimately we need
works.
to feel safe. Whether you're in a relationship with someone or not, it has to start with you. It has to start with you. You're going to be in a healthy relationship if your relationship with yourself is, by the way, good, obviously, because you're going to love yourself. You're not going to date a red flag. You're going to go for somebody who loves their self and loves you for who you are. These are where it starts. Self-acceptance. When we accept ourselves, the organism starts to thrive. We've watched it with our pets, right? Like, imagine we mistreat our pet. We don't give it the support or the security. Or imagine we're like, oh, you're looking fat. You're not getting your meal today, cat. No, we're not going to do that. We would never do that. If we did that, we would be operating out of woundology. Remember, Carolyn?
Yes.
but really, so it comes down to this real, or even a plant. Really look at the way we nourish a plant. Oh, this plant, no, you're looking a bit too bulky on the branch. Going to hold back the water and the sunlight. Not today. Hibiscus.
See, you're right. We don't do that, but we can. But it's all right to do it to ourselves, or that's the practice. Yeah. Now, my darling, I know you've got the 3 children that will be needing you very soon.
They're held captive in the front room.
Yeah. They're all sorted. But I have loved our conversation and your wisdom. And over the years, like I say, you have always been such a shining light and given me so much information over the years. And we've always had very hearty chats. It's a wonderful, it's always such a great conversation. So I want to say thank you, my darling, for explaining the Ayurvedic principle and how it can really support us as we go through each stage of life in a very nourishing way. And my little saying lately has been from self-punishment to self-nourishment. And I feel like Ayurvedic is most definitely.
I feel like that is, that it could be the catch line of Ayurveda, to be honest.
It's nourishment.
It's nourishment. It's not about depletion or restriction or anything like this. It's nourishing. Sometimes, sure, you have to correct an imbalance by removing an excess, but you are doing that to nourish your true self. So it's really nice. And thank you very much for having me. It's been fun. Very, very nice. Thank you.
Thank you, my darling. Everybody, you'll be able to find Justene and Ibui Ayurvedic. All of her beautiful information will be in our show notes. But again, my dear friend, thank you. It's been an absolute pleasure. And we didn't actually say you are in Saudi Arabia. So you are not even in Australia. So when you said the desert before, I thought people might be thinking, where is she in the desert? Is she in the Simpson desert? No, She's in the Sahara Desert.
Yeah. I'm in the middle of the desert. Not that it looks like it. I take a lot of great effort to grow plants.
I bet. Thank you, my darling Justine. I love you and thank you.
Love you too, Emma. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
The Body Love Revolution online summit is this February the 12th to the 15th. If you would love access to these incredible conversations from thought leaders, please click the link in the show notes. All I need is your first name, your surname, and your email. And this summit will be popped right in your inbox. Yes, this summit is free, so you'll have access to all of these incredible conversations. Enjoy, and I cannot wait to hear your thoughts and feelings. No doubt there will be transformation.